Okay, joining me now is BlazeTV contributor and host of the show Slightly Offensive, Eliza Schaffer. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me on your show.
All right, I retweeted one of your videos of you exposing Antifa for using concrete slabs, not the quickcrete stuff we saw with Andy No, actual slabs of concrete. Now they're bringing hammers into these protests. If anyone watches CNN or MSNBC or is reading any of the major newspapers, Antifa is being referred, or Antifa is being referred to as counter-protesters. Well, you're not a counter-protester when you're smashing someone in the face with a hammer.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And what's interesting that you said that is that most of Antifa's madness and vandalism, including all of their illegal activity, began to take place after right-wing protesters actually left the scene. So the groups of the Proud Boys, the American Guard, and other groups that were mixed together to sort of declare their constitutional free speech rights had actually crossed the bridge back over the waterfront away from downtown Portland at least 30 minutes before the anti-fascist and anarchists started to wreak havoc in the streets.
Yeah, but what does that have to do with anything? I mean, just because the Oath Keepers or the Proud Boys or any group is there to hold a free speech rally, that doesn't give anybody the right to smash somebody in the face with a hammer or throw a slab of concrete or point a gun at them, for that matter, right? We believe in the right to keep and bear arms, but brandishing a gun at someone because you don't like what they're saying is not legal.
Yeah, that's actually absolutely correct. While I was there, I actually saw two people with guns. I saw people with batons, police-style batons, a lot of bear mace, pepper spray, brass knuckles, etc., that were being brandished, including some that were confiscated and confirmed by police reports. But what's absolutely interesting is that these right-wingers were not protesting. They were actually gathering, which is largely different. A very peaceful gathering, mostly made up of different sexual orientations, different genders, and even nationalities, from what I understood, and skin colors. So it definitely was not a white nationalist group. It'd be kind of hard to have a white nationalist protest when you have black people speaking and at the front of it. It'd be kind of awkward, right? So these people were protesting not the group themselves, but this idea of fascism, which I believe they've made up and been brainwashed to believe is threatening our country. And of course, the fact that most of the protesting actually took place after the group left shows that they don't even know who they're fighting.
Have you ever followed any of these guys to where they go next? I mean, eventually they take off the hoods and the bandanas and go get themselves a cup of coffee. Have you ever seen any of these people when they're done being Antifa and they go about their businesses? Has anyone followed them anywhere to the next place they go?
You know, it's absolutely funny that you say that, because what happens with these protesters, and this is why I feel really safe on the streets, is that once their masks are removed and they're no longer in numbers, they don't actually pose a threat to any citizens, because individually, this might sound sort of sharp, but they're very, very weak individuals. And that's not just a joke. When I was in Washington, D.C. recently at the last clash between Proud Boys and Antifa, I have a lot of recordings of that as well. You can famously hear the leader of the Antifa group as they're marching through the streets, stopping traffic. And I might imitate him. He said, "Get in formation," which was sort of a cracked voice that didn't sound like he had even gone through puberty yet. So somebody who can't even get tonal bass in their voice is not somebody I'd be threatened to run into on the streets as an individual.
So let me just throw this out there. And I don't want this to happen, right? I realize that some of these people are hardened communists. Some of them are even academics that want to be influential over young people. But a lot of these Antifa kids are just knuckleheads who have some revolutionary fantasy. But the more we see the hammers, the more we see the concrete slabs, the more we see the quickcrete, I really do believe this is going to end badly for somebody in Antifa. They are going to mess with the wrong person, and they're going to put that person in a legal self-defense situation, and I don't think it's going to end well.
You know, it won't. And I want to bring this up because I got a lot of crap for this. I took a picture of the beginning of the march, and there was two people in wheelchairs. One looked like a transgender, and a black gentleman who was smoking a cigarette shirtless. And I said, "This is who's leading Antifa." And of course, everyone, in SJW Twitterverse, all the blue check marks, reined in saying, how do you think that's a bad idea that people in wheelchairs are leading a protest? And I said, well, this is really bad because I know people on the right and they are not going to assault someone in a wheelchair, okay? That's like rule 101. Do not punch somebody who's disabled physically. So by pushing and virtue signaling these people to the front, you do realize that they know that if they started a fight, that their only defense is to make the PR for the right look bad, because they would get creamed. When you look at the pictures of the right-wingers, they're huge, they're muscular, they're gun owners, they believe in self-defense, but they actually are in many ways very peaceful. These left-wingers have no physical defenses to actually protect themselves, except for the PR they're going to get from Huffington Post and BuzzFeed and The Guardian and all these other left-wing sites that shill for them and like to say that they're peaceful, and of course these people who are trying to fight neo-Nazis in the streets of America. But I'm telling you, if they actually went head-to-head, as we saw in previous protests, it takes one punch to knock these little suckers out, and they're on the floor. Now, I'm not promoting violence, but I'm going to tell you what, if they wanted a war and they actually got one, it wouldn't end well, especially when the fact that they are brandishing weapons, and so any violence in return would actually probably be considered self-defense in the court of law.
I'll have to connect you with my buddy Pat Miletich, the former UFC champ, because he was on right here for an episode on that very topic, and he had a lot to say. But I got to leave it there, Elijah. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me on again. Have a great day.